Namaste. So, if a couple is planning for conception and काफ़ी बार they track the ovulation on the mobile apps पे जब tracking होता है तो usually it's a generalized tracking. Say a female is having a 28 days period cycle or she is having a 32 days period cycle और उस period cycle में उसको tentatively ovulation अगर 14th या 15th day पे दिखाई देता है, but this is a generalized study and most of the couples they track ovulation as per the mobile app and then they actually plan for the fertile days. लेकिन जब हम लोग देखते हैं तो every individual is different, every person's body type is different, physical, mental, bodily state is different and even if you see the constitution, prakriti हर एक की अलग होती है. Everybody's dietary lifestyle regime is different, sleep pattern is different. किसी को insomnia है, किसी को stress है, किसी का hormonal imbalance है या hormonal balance है. So every person, every individual comes with a different bodily type, different body condition and इसलिए हर एक का ovulation vary होता है. So it's not only to understand which day you're ovulating, it is also further to understand are you ovulating properly, is the size of the egg released proper in size or the follicle is collapsed or ruptured on time, is the endometrium thickness satisfactory. So it's not only about the ovulation happening or what day it is happening, but what is it happening properly, that is also very important. So today let's understand about all these factors, but before that let's understand why is tracking your ovulation study very important and why is tracking ovulation in the right manner important to plan your conception or plan the fertile days or to have contact with your partners to achieve successful natural conception. So when you talk about ovulation, so generally in a female, say if she has a normal 28 days cycle, then on the first day of your menstruation, 5 eggs are released or they start developing into your ovary and there is a follicle which is covering the eggs, growing eventually every day. Hence the egg enclosed in the follicle. So considering the follicle covering the egg, there is one egg slowly and steadily enclosed in the follicle which is growing in size, becomes mature mostly on the 14th day of your period cycle. The follicle encircling the egg collapses or ruptures, eventually releasing the egg, and this process is called as ovulation. Now considering this as a highly fertile day, so when the ovulation happens, when the egg is released out of the follicle, that particular period is considered as a highly fertile period. In this period, the egg released out of the follicle, it travels through the fallopian tube, and at that particular time, if the contact happens between the couple and if the sperm enters the uterine cavity, it comes and meets the egg and hence fertilization happens. And after the fertilization happens, if it's successful, the further embryo development happens. It comes slowly down, it's passed on to the endometrium where it's implanted, and if it's all successful, it's happened properly, if the endometrium thickness is proper, if the endometrium is patent, the fertilization will happen, the implantation will happen, and further growth and development of the embryo implanted will happen, and eventually the fetal growth and development will happen slowly and steadily. So overall, this is the process of successful fertilization, we can say. So when it comes to successful fertilization and when the implantation and everything, इसमें सबसे ज़्यादा important होता है to track your ovulation correctly. Most importantly, once the ovulation happens, the egg released is viable for 24 hours further. Once the egg is released, it is viable only for 24 hours further. So it's said that further for 3-4 days, having contact with your partner is important, or you may not achieve pregnancy. So this of planning your fertile days, planning your ovulation or tracking your ovulation, this is very important parameter. And if everything falls down in place, natural conception may happen, the ovulation may happen successfully, the implantation may happen, and eventually there could be a fetal development and growth ahead. So tracking your ovulation is very, very important study when it comes with natural conception. Beyond that, when you actually think about this and when the ovulation happens and when the egg is released and all these factors happen properly, the conception can happen and hence you can achieve results. Now what are the things that we track? So let's understand how do we track ovulation. Now one is there are certain mobile apps and they have this certain ovulation strips and all, but talking about the correct understanding, the correct way of understanding ovulation and successful ovulation is by a transvaginal sonography or an abdominal sonography, which is done at a sonography unit. Of course you need to talk to your physician and then go ahead and track your ovulation properly. So when you actually go and walk in a sonography center, they do a transvaginal sonography mostly from the 10th day onwards of your menstrual cycle. This study is recommended and it goes on a daily basis or alternate day basis, checking slowly and steadily, keeping a track of your ovaries, the egg released by either of the ovary, the right or left ovary, then the size of the egg increasing slowly and steadily, the follicle size increasing slowly and steadily, and eventually what day the rupture happens, at what size the follicular rupture happens, and what is the endometrium thickness at that time. So all these factors basically are tracked when you go for a ovulation study. So what exactly is it that you have to see when you're tracking your ovulation? So number one is eggs released from the ovaries. Are these matured or growing in size or appropriately growing in size? Is the encircling follicle growing in size and ruptured on time? That is mostly before 18th or 20th day of your period cycle, the rupture should happen. Or if it's getting overly mature or big in size, what happens most of the times, the follicle rupture is delayed. If it happens by 18th or 20th day of your period cycle is absolutely fine, but if it's delayed further to 20th day, 25th day or 30th day of your cycle, the size will grow on increasing. Even though there's no rupture happening, the size will grow on increasing, and eventually the follicular size may grow up to 30 to 32 mm in size, and which is considered non-viable. It's too mature, it's overly mature, and which is considered non-viable, and hence it's further converted into a cyst, which does not help with natural conception. The egg is overly matured inside the follicle, hence even though there is a follicle rupture happened, it's a cyst that has ruptured, and which will not be viable, which will not help you with natural conception. Apart from that, one more important factor is the endometrial thickness, whether it's satisfactory. If it's more than 8 centimeter, it's considered to be satisfactory. If it is below that, below 8 centimeter, less than that, it is not considered satisfactory for the endometrial implantation or for the embryo implantation to be successful, even though fertile days are planned properly, and even though there's a fertilization happened, eventually even though the embryo implantation is seen to be happened, but if the endometrial thickness is not satisfactory, then there will not be any endometrial implantation seen. Hence endometrium thickness is also equally important when it comes to tracking the ovulation study. So these all factors are seen and studied when it comes to ovulation study, and eventually there could be a satisfactory ovulation or a successful ovulation, or that could be an unsuccessful ovulation due to if any of these parameters is not proper or any of these parameters is not satisfactory. So this is what we see in ovulation study, and hence if it is not satisfactorily happening, you have to go and take treatments accordingly. There are various methods and various ways to ensure that your ovulation is on track, is happening properly. And Ayurveda and Panchakarma works beautifully when it comes with natural conception, correcting what's going wrong, correcting your period cycle, correcting your ovulation, and hence ensuring or enhancing the process of natural conception